Hi, welcome to Mom on Mute. I'm your host, Mindy. Today we're interviewing Sandy Rusk, who is estranged from her daughter, who is in the I-Town Church, we believe, a cult. So, hi, Sandy. How you doing today?
Hi, Mindy. Thanks for having me.
It was such a pleasure talking to you before. I just adore you. I just want you to know that, and I'm really
Oh, thank
sorry.
you.
I'm really, really sorry for your pain. And if you would like to share your story and educate people on what happened, that would be very informative and
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, I can definitely do that, Mindy. I have a daughter who is an adult now, but when she was 14 years old, this was all the way back in 2011, she came to me one day and said, "Hey, Mom, do you mind if I go to church with my friend this Sunday?" And of course, I was like, church? Sure. Even though I wasn't raised in a church and I didn't raise my daughter in a church, I always felt like a church was a safe place that,
Right.
I just always felt that you could trust them. And I'm a realtor, so I worked a lot on the weekends, and I was a single mom as well, and she's my only child. And I thought, wow, if I'm working on the weekends and she wants to be at church, great. So I
Absolutely.
I did ask some questions though, as any mom would do, like, where's the church located? It turned out it was right down the street from where we live. And she said to me, "Mom, this is Dave Summerall. His
Wait,
grandfather was
what
Lester."
state are you in, Sandy? Just
I'm in
doing.
Indiana.
All right. So
Indiana. Yeah.
The I-Town Church is in Indiana.
Yes,
Just
yes.
wanted to get
And
that clear.
his grandfather was Lester Summerall, which was he was one of the first TV evangelists way back in the 50s. He started his own media conglomerate. It turned out to be quite big in the end. And I had heard of Lester Summerall. And so that I think helped me to be like, oh, yeah, you can go to church there this Sunday. And so I had no idea that I should have asked a lot more questions than that back
Sandy,
then.
can I just ask you a question? Isn't
Sure.
that one of the mega churches that's part of like a huge franchise of mega churches all over the country?
Yes. Yes, it
So
is.
so it's
It's
a
called,
business.
yes, it's called the Association of Related Churches, and they call that ARC, ARC. But if you Google it, it's better to spell it all the way out, the Association of Related Churches. And you're right. If you think about church franchises, that's basically what they are. So if you have a
So they're
church
for profit, but they're under the blanket of no
of a nonprofit,
of a nonprofit,
yes.
but they are actually for profit. It's like
Well,
selling well,
yes.
it's like
Yes.
selling a Chick-fil-A. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a
Yes, a
but
100%, because they use a lot of the same techniques that franchises use. They have pre put together sermons.
yeah, if you
They
could
have a
explain all this so they can understand, people can
Yes,
understand.
and they have a proven formula on how they do things, and they teach you how to get up and running as a church as fast as possible, because some of that tithing money goes to ARC indefinitely. So it's just like a franchise. So when they get up and running, that tithing money that church brings in, a percentage of it goes to the main association of related
So they have
churches.
to pay. They have to pay like a commission or like
Yeah,
a
they
service fee. Like
well, I don't know what they call it, but
right,
you're
but
right
it's
in your description of what you're saying. They are definitely uh, required to pay a certain percentage of their tithing back to ARC.
and it seems like when I was doing research after you spoke to me about this originally, it seems like the head of the church is usually a husband and wife that looks very genteel, like a
Yes,
very
very,
non scary looking, very like proper looking church going
very much
couple.
so. Very polished,
Yeah, very
would
polished
be the way.
couple that
Yes,
has
to
like a
say
lot
it.
of kids, right?
Uh-huh. Yes, that has a lot of kids, and they usually, if you see a photograph of one of their pastors, it looks like something that would be on the cover of a magazine. They have good photographers, let's say. And so, yes, way back then when my daughter got involved, now keep in mind, back then, I had no idea about ark. I had no
Yeah, but
idea.
I don't mean to interrupt. I just want you to let the audience understand that
Yes,
this is not just a little church on the corner.
right.
This is a
You're
big corporation machine.
That's right. People call it these days a mega church,
Right.
and
It's
that's
a
a good
so
example.
yeah,
Yes.
so I don't want them to think it's their neighborhood church down the
No,
corner that rings the
no,
bells at 12 o'clock.
no, not at all.
So, and
Much
also the way you described it to me, could you describe how it looks?
the church itself,
Yeah.
yes, it looks very much and you can go online and Google them and see a picture of their church, but it very much I've had people refer to it as looking like a distribution center for Amazon or Target or something like that. And one lady just did a video that I came across that I don't even know the lady, but she uh, took a small video outside of one of their churches and she said, what does this look like to you guys? Does it look like a distribution center or warehouse, or does it look like the outside of a prison? And I was like,
Oh,
wow,
that's
that's what the community feels like when they see it. There's also nothing that you think of about a church. There's no steeple, there's no cross, there's no pictures or statues of Jesus anywhere
stained
in
glass, no
or
stained
on
glass,
the outside. It's
no
it's
arch glass.
totally devoid of anything that you associate with a religious uh, building, a
All right, I
church.
just wanted to get that picture out there so
Yeah,
the audience knows that it's not the neighborhood church. It's not like A-framed. It doesn't have the stained glass. It doesn't have the pews. It doesn't have the Jesus on the cross. It doesn't have
nothing.
any of that welcoming. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's welcoming, but it doesn't have any of that
right. And
actual church aesthetic to it. So
and the inside, what you would normally refer to as maybe the sanctuary, it's more like a theater. There's no windows. It's very dark in there. It has theater seating that's very comfortable, and it
theater, it
is
doesn't have the pew things.
no, no, not at all, not at all.
So it looks
It's
like a
dark.
like a
A
mega.
stage. There's a stage instead of an altar. Yeah.
So it looks like a movie theater.
Yes, yes, a movie theater, or because there's a stage, maybe more of like where you would watch a play or
Okay.
that type of
All right. I
theater.
will stop
Yeah.
interrupting you. I wanted to get that physical view of what we're looking at here.
Yeah, you're setting the stage and
Mhm.
that's absolutely right, Mindy. It's very different from what you think. But because of the way it's set up physically, they everything is a performance. So when the music starts, it's very loud and contemporary, and there's laser lights and
Oh,
that kind of thing. It's not the traditional religious music that you would think of. So, um, and I think I think it's kind of geared that way to attract young people because of the trendy music. And that's why when my daughter first went there back in 2011, is she was drawn to that because she was in her high school drum line. So she was all about music. And I think that was part of what drew her
so it's like
into.
a rock concert.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And I had not been around, churches my whole life, really. Occasionally I had gone to a church, but I'd never been involved in a church.
Uh,
And I didn't know that there was anything that I needed to be concerned about. So, about a week after my daughter started attending, a week or two at the most, I told her I wanted to go and check it out. And I didn't realize that those things can be red flags. I didn't, I just thought, wow, this is kind of cool. And she seems so excited about it. And I didn't have any reason to think that I should have dug deeper. And in 2011, we didn't have social media like we have it today. And even Google was not what it is today. You couldn't find information, like what I needed to know back then. And so I let her start attending, and I would come in and attend the service. But I'm a realtor, but back then I was in new home sales. So I had office hours on the weekend. So I would come in, watch the service and leave and go to work. And then my daughter would hang out and volunteer. And if they needed, things done around the facility, she just jumped in and became a part of it. And so I thought that that was a good thing because my daughter wanted to be in church all the time. So that's how it all started.
She was safe in a
Right.
confined building, and she
Yes.
wasn't sitting in somebody's basement doing drugs,
Right.
basically.
Right. That's exactly what I thought. How lucky
Yeah.
am I? My
Yeah.
teenage daughter wants to be at church all the time instead of out getting in trouble. And she was 14 at the time. So, that
So
was
she
a
couldn't
concern.
drive, so she needed a ride.
Right. She needed a ride, but she had some friends that were a little older than her that I trusted, and they would go to church together and then they would, kind of hang out there and work. And she got really involved in helping in the children's uh, they used to call it the nursery, but now they call it the children's ministry. So she got really involved in that, helping take care of the children that were there. And at that time, iTown was actually in a smaller building than they are in now. In 2019, they built a huge $22 million building that they built from scratch. But again, there's no cross, there's no steeple. They built it on that same format that they had.
So where did they get the money? Where did they get the money to build it?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. As part of the Association of Related Churches, they have a mortgage company that either they own or it's under their umbrella somehow. But that's where all these churches get these mega $1 million.
So they hold their
mortgages.
own paper.
Yes, yes, yes. And that I know someone who had his church taken away from him, and I don't think it was due to money. He has his own story, and I won't go into too much of it, but I know that they have repercussions if there's disagreements or whatever. But if they have two ways that you can become a church under the Association of Related Churches. Either you can start from scratch and have them help you build a church, or you can have an existing church that's not going well and you can join ARC. So you can either have what they call a church plant where, they help you build the church and start it, or you are I think they call it an affiliate church when you bring your church under, and then you change over all your systems and all your ways of doing things and become like them.
You get rid of the crosses and the pews, and
well, I don't know of any personal churches that went from that extreme, but I'm sure they're out there. Yeah.
But they have a designated blueprint of how you have to do this.
Exactly.
So there's just like every, I hate saying Chick-fil-A, but just like every Hobby Lobby, every Chick-fil-A, every McDonald's, they all look the same.
Yes. Yes.
Like you can walk into Costco and you know where things are. I mean, it's a formula. So
a formula, most definitely.
All right. So
most definitely.
All right. I'll stop interrupting. I promise.
Okay. Well,
I just want to get the visual out.
Yes. I think we got the visual really well. And if they want, they can always Google, the Association of Related Churches and or iTown Church, which is just like it sounds, the letter I and then town, but all one word. Okay. And I don't know where that name came from, but in any case,
I know it's a weird name.
It is a weird name. So anyway, they have 3 locations, and they are getting ready to build another large facility that they've already got their financing approved through their own mortgage company. And
this particular branch has 3 more branches that.
Well, yes, because it's again, like we've said, it's like a franchise. So they have 3 locations now, and they're adding 2 more. So
not all over the country in your dream.
No, just right in our immediate.
Okay, because I know that there was one where I lived in Pennsylvania.
I don't. If it's named iTown,
no,
that
like
was
that, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, the Association of Related Churches, they have 1,186 locations of their under their umbrella throughout the United States, 1,186.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the Association of Related Churches is quite large, and it's quite scandal ridden. Yeah, if you
Okay.
really dig into it, you'll find that,
Well, let's go. Dig in.
let's dig in.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
dig in.
so I allowed my daughter to start attending there in 2011. She was 14 years old. And at the time, my daughter was very popular within our community. And because she was very popular, I I know this for sure because someone heard this being said, is they really had an agenda with my daughter, because in the beginning they only opened in 2010. She got involved in 2011. And when she came into the church and was so eager to be involved, and they knew how popular she was out in our community, they decided that they could use her to help build up the church by going out into the community and recruiting other kids her age to come to the church. And this was actually stated by Dave Summerall in a business meeting back then. We can use that young lady to help build iTown. And I had no idea.
So the operative word was used.
Yes, yes. And that was exactly the way it was told to me by the witness who heard him say it. But many years later, I didn't know this in the beginning. I did not know that they had an agenda with my daughter. And so I'm sitting back as a mom thinking, wow, this is great. My daughter loves being at church all the time. Behind my back, they were, and I will go ahead and say it, you've heard this term used probably plenty of times regarding a coercive or cult environment. They groomed and manipulated her
right.
over, several year period. And I had no idea. I would come in on Sunday. I would attend the service. Everything looked good. My daughter seemed to be excited about being there all the time. And I mean, there would be times, Mindy, where she would say, Mom, this week I'm going to be at iTown every night until 10 o'clock at night because they have an event. We have an event this weekend and I'm helping to put it together. And, as a mom, I didn't really look in. If I knew then what I know now, I would have handled things so much differently, but I didn't, and I was a single mom trying to raise her myself, and,
Your only child.
My only child. And, I didn't have a spouse to say, hey, honey, what do you think about this? I just made those decisions on my own, and I felt okay about it at the time. Looking back on it, I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking?
I mean, looking into it from my point of view, it didn't seem like, it didn't seem like you were pushing her into the fire or anything. I mean, it seemed like she wasn't in somebody's basement doing bad stuff.
Right. And that's how I felt about it. I thought that she was in a safe, trusted environment, and I blindly trusted Dave and Kate Summerall with my daughter.
But isn't that that's the rub, right? That's
yes.
yes.
And they betrayed my trust in the worst possible way.
Okay. So she's there every night. 14.
Yes. And time went by, time goes so fast. and the next thing I know, she's graduating from high school, which was 2015. And she had a career picked out. Oh, goodness. Can you see that on the screen?
No. See what?
Sorry. I have something that came up on my screen.
No, I didn't see it.
I don't know how to get out of it, Mindy.
What do you mean? There's nothing on your screen.
Okay. Sorry. Maybe you can.
No, we'll edit that out. All right, okay. Go on.
Okay, so I forget where I was.
So you were talking about how she's now 18 and she had a career picked out.
Yes.
So the 4 years that she's still going to the church, everything seems fine.
Right. Everything seems fine. And she had, my daughter had, when she was in middle school, she had a deaf friend. And she got so fascinated by the deaf community, and she knew how to do sign language. but when you spell everything, and this little boy that she became friends with, he said, no, you don't have to spell everything. There's actual signs for words. And that's how we communicate. And she was like, oh, Mom, you're not going to believe this. She was so excited. So the career that she had picked out, she wanted to be in deaf education. And I thought, well, as excited as she is about the deaf community, that would actually be a good thing for her. And so she graduated high school, and then we had her. I signed her
You
up
still
for.
didn't see any signs yet. It's still humming around, right? It's still.
No, I mean, she was still in. And keep in mind, we did back then. We did a lot of traveling. She was on the high school drum line, which took a lot of her time, and she spent any spare time at I-Town Church.
But
And
you were
so,
close with her, like you
right,
had a
right.
normal mother-daughter
Right.
relationship.
And my daughter has a medical condition that I won't go into too
Right.
much, but this medical condition that she had, even though it wasn't life threatening, it was a very visual thing. And so in 2007, I created an organization that was basically to help create awareness for this condition that she had. And that turned into something quite interesting. We ended up getting to do a lot of traveling with it. And my daughter was in the media a lot because of it. And so between that and her desire to be in the deaf community, she had a lot of her own goals.
Right.
I was hoping that she would want to take this organization and turn it into something more than what we had done together. And the foundation was perfectly laid for that. And then when she said she wanted to be in deaf education, I didn't try to stop her. As a matter of fact, I was the one that went and signed her up at Ball State to pursue that. And I think that I-Town felt like if they could gain control of her, then they could continue to use her to build up and maintain their church. So she goes away to college. I'm assuming that's behind her, that was her thing that she did while she was finishing high school. And she was at Ball State for 1 year. And about halfway through that year, she had a boyfriend at that time, and they broke up. And so she, about 2 weeks went by and must have filtered through the grapevine that she's no longer with her boyfriend, and she's up there at school, which Ball State from where we live is about a half an hour drive. So it's just right up the street.
But she lived
And
on campus, right?
she lived on campus during that first year. And they contacted her, and she had just turned 18 when they contacted her. And they said, would you drive home on the weekends and come back and help us at the church, because we could really use you now. So she said, well, I just broke up with my boyfriend, so sure, I can do that. So I'm thinking, oh, well, this is good. She can be home a little bit more when she's comes home on the weekends. I'll get to see her more. Well, that didn't happen. As soon as she got back down there to where we live, she was just all I-Town, from the minute she got there. And so after that school term ended at college, they sat her down without my knowledge and said, would you be willing to quit college and come on staff here full time? This was the first huge red flag.
Could you imagine if the head of the church said to his child,
yes,
would you not go to college and do this?
Yes.
God. Okay.
Yes. So that was the first time that I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? But keep in mind, back then, Mindy, I knew nothing about cults. I knew nothing about how a church can take a young person and manipulate them and groom them for their own,
And they were so genteel. I mean, they looked like,
oh yeah,
a Norman Rockwell painting, right?
Oh yes. They had at that time, I think they had 4 children. They have 5. I think they ended up with 5, and they adopted.
Yeah, always.
So they have 6. They have 6 children. They have a whole foster care program that they do through their church now too. They encourage all their, congregation to get involved in, the foster care system, and
Well,
they
they need
teach.
more people.
Yes, and they teach classes. I don't know how the money is involved with that, but I'm sure that the church probably gets. Now, this is just my own opinion I'm throwing out
No.
here, but they probably get some kind of grants or something to make this happen. Maybe they charge their people for the classes that they put them through. I don't know, but it seems to be a big business.
It's also a way. I know somebody that acquires foster children for a
Mhm.
profit.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
okay, so my
Yeah,
so I know that every time you get a foster child, you get more money from the government
right.
to take care of that child. So not only are they creating more children to grow up in the church, they're also creating more income for the parents of the foster children to
Mhm.
donate to the church.
Right, right.
And they're
And I
probably
and
teaching
I think that
classes on it.
they get some money straight from, you know, the government. I'm
I know,
speculating
no,
on
no. I'm
this,
saying you could see how that's all
but
tentacled.
like everything else there, it seems to be money driven. Just let's say it that way.
Okay,
And
so
after what they did to me, and they will get on stage and talk about how iTown is all about families and wrapping their arms around these poor little foster kids, which is true. It's sad that there are foster children out there, but after what they did to me, that rings very hollow when I hear them talk about how they are all about family, because they basically took my daughter and they made sure that they destroyed our relationship. So they don't care anything about family. So I keep getting off track, Mindy, but I'm going to
I'm sorry.
spring
I'll
back
shut up.
to.
I'll shut up.
No, 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 it's not you. I unfortunately, since I lived all of this, I could talk about it for
Well, I
24 hours.
right, but I also know. I mean, not about the church, but with the foster care system, a lot of people in government,
Yeah.
like um, federal, servants of the people, seem to adopt
Hmm.
children for appearance. I don't. I it just seems
Yeah, I know
it's
what
a
you're
pattern.
saying.
It's a
Hmm.
pattern.
Yeah, yeah,
It, it's it's a it's a thing.
I agree. I agree.
Okay, so
Well, okay, I'll get back to what
okay,
they did to me. Okay, so I feel like um because I had this organization that I wanted my daughter to take over, even though I didn't push her into it, but I had perfectly laid the foundation for this organization. We had already done tons of traveling, we'd been in the media a lot. And if she wanted, she could have had a career with that very easily. My daughter could have.
right.
And I think that they really decided that they wanted her to stay there and that they needed to kind of separate her from me in order to stay connected with them. Now, I know that that probably sounds far fetched, but that's
No,
literally what happened, Mindy. So she gets back home from college, and I'm like, oh, you're going to, be staying at our house. Because I had a house back then, and a nice house that was in a good area. And I go, oh, you're going to be, back living at home. And she goes, well, Mom, there's this couple that, they're involved at iTown, and they've got this big house out in like this small town outside of Indianapolis area. And this couple, and I knew these people, but I didn't know them well. They've had a lot of people who are in transition will come and stay at their house. And she goes, I'd really like to be out on my own, so I want to go and stay there. And of course, I'm like, you got a beautiful room in our house. Why would you want to go and stay with other people? But then every time I would have these red flags, Mindy, I would kind of talk myself down, and I
right.
would say,
You
and I say,
rationalize it. You
yes,
rationalize it.
yes, because I said to myself, okay, and I told her, I said, you're not going to make enough money to live out in your own apartment. So what are you thinking? Are you going to get roommates or what are you going to do? And then that's when she told me that she wanted to go and live at their house. And so then I thought, well, and I didn't know anything that I know now about iTown.
Well,
So
they
I
needed
thought,
to control her. They needed her
right.
in a hermetically sealed, controlled
Yes,
environment in
yes,
order
yes,
to brainwash the process, the
right.
cult. So this seems to be,
And turn her against me too, Mindy.
oh, so this
Yes.
is like, who's the movie star that's daughter went into that Nexus cult?
Oh, yes, that is Catherine Oxenberg, and her
Same.
daughter is India Oxenberg. As a matter of fact, when I first learned about cults, that was the first documentary that I watched, and I was in shock at how much her story paralleled my story because her daughter got involved at Nexium, and it took her 7 years to get her daughter out.
And because she was a movie star with a lot of resources and famous,
Yes, she had a lot of media contacts when she first came out
wasn't she on a
publicly.
big show? She was on a big show,
Yeah,
right?
she was on Dynasty.
Oh, okay,
She
right.
was on the
Okay.
TV show Dynasty, and she was, like you said, being, wealthy celebrity. She had access to stuff that I didn't have access to,
And the
and
media.
the media, yeah, media, and attorneys, and a lot of things that I haven't had access
And it
to,
still
but
took her 7 years.
it still took her 7 years. And she literally, the only way that she got her daughter out was she was able to find out stuff about Nexium and find out all the things that they were doing that was illegal and unethical. And she was able to basically bring that company down to extract her daughter because unfortunately her daughter was like my daughter is right now. My daughter thinks that iTown's a good place. They
Okay,
had
so
they had India convinced that Nexium was a good
well,
place.
they branded India too.
Yeah,
Don't they
they
branded
did.
them.
They
I mean,
did. They
literally
legitimately,
branded them with
yes,
like an
yes,
iron. And then
yes.
they, and it was all sexual too, wasn't it? A lot of
Oh, yes, yes. Keith Raniere, the one who started Nexium, he had uh his whole harem of young girls
yeah,
that
harem.
that
Harem was the right
yes,
word. And then
yes, yes,
didn't he have a helper, kind of like
yes. He the girl that was on uh she was an actress and I can't think of
oh,
her
okay.
name
Kind of
right now.
like I'm not going to bring it. Kind of like the thing that's going on in our government now with him and the helper girl. Same. I don't want to get into it. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't want to bring that
I
into it.
think
But
I
yeah,
think
it seems to be it's a pattern. It's the so Nexium takes her and puts her into a confined, hermetically sealed big house that they probably bought for the
yes,
couple, right?
yes. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what did the husband do? Did
Oh,
the
no, no,
husband?
no. I'm sorry. No, the couple that they put her with, they owned a house that was very nice property. It was out away from everything.
But do you
And
think
they would
next?
have
Do you think that the iTown actually bought that house for them to do
no,
this?
no,
Okay,
no, I don't think so. But this couple was highly involved at iTown.
okay,
They were not on staff, they were not paid staff, but they were very involved there to the point where I think that they could have been big donors to
okay.
iTown because they get these big donors in our community to donate big amounts of money to the church. It's not just tithing, and then those people become like I don't they get
Elders.
no, 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 they're not in, they don't get to
Oh,
make any decisions or anything, but they will get perks like they'll have events for them, the big
oh,
donors and stuff like that.
okay.
So so my daughter unfortunately went to live at these people's house, and it's just crazy when I look back on it, but I'll try to skip ahead a little bit because the main thing that they did to me, I think, is the big basically what they did to me is so unethical and
The bait
so
and
wrong.
switch that they did to you.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
they had her living there, and like you said, That was a way for them to keep control of her away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was continuing to attend the church. I would still go in on the weekends and attend the service. Then in 2019, they opened this brand new facility, $22 million facility. And right before that, my daughter, trying to think how much I can leave out and still make this all make sense, because the story is very long. But I'm going to skip to January 20th or January 23rd of 2020. That was right before the pandemic really
Yeah.
started. And I was still attending the church. And um, my daughter had been this whole time, all the way from when she went away to college, she had been more distant from me. You know, um, she'd make plans to see me, then she would cancel the plans, then she would try to reschedule. And I was confused by it, but I just chalked it all up to she's very busy.
And
And
she's finding herself.
yeah, she's finding herself. She's very busy. So I was trying not to be too, I was not the kind of mom that would call her 15 times a day
Yeah.
or just show up, you know, unannounced or anything like that. But I was still attending the church. And so this particular day, January 23rd of 2020, my friend and I were going to go out to lunch. And the restaurant that we were going to was right by iTown. And she lived in a condo that I had sold her that is really right next to iTown. And so I drove to her condo, and then she wanted to show me her new car. So we were going to ride in her car to the restaurant. So we went from her condo, drove right by iTown. And for some reason, I don't know, I'd never done this before, but some reason I said to my friend, is there any way you could pull up to the door at iTown and let me run in and say hi to my daughter? And she goes, sure. So she pulled right up to the door. I said, I'll be right back. I'm just going to say hi to her since I'm in the area. I walk in the front door. And again, I had been attending this church for 8 years. I knew the pastors, except for Dave and Kate, who don't really talk to anyone. But, you know, some of the junior pastors that were there, I knew them. So I walked up to the front desk area, and I said, oh, hi, is my daughter here? And she looked at me, and I did not know this lady. And she looked at me very weird, and she goes, I can't share any information with you about her. And I'm like, I'm her mom. I'm just in the area. I wanted to say hi to her. And she goes, just a minute. She picks up a card key from the desk, goes behind a locked door, and I'm getting this really weird vibes.
Well,
Because
churches are
again,
supposed to be open
to anyone, right?
to anyone. I mean, you have people sleeping in them at night.
Not there. So she comes back out of the door about 2 minutes later, and she goes, no, she folded her arms, stood behind the front counter and looked at me and goes, no, I can't share any information with you about her. And I'm going, what is going on here? First of all, I didn't even ask for any information. I mean, can you imagine if, you know, you just walked into some place, just a business office, a store, a salon, or someone that you knew that worked there and just said, hey, is so and so here?
Well, it's so unnatural not to have access to your child. I mean, out of
Right.
anybody that would have access to your child, it would definitely be the mother.
Right. Right.
If there was no, I mean,
And
you
I had
don't
never
need to
had,
give an excuse why you want to see your daughter. That's not information that anybody else needs.
right. And Mindy, I had no reason to think, first of all, I wouldn't be welcome there because I'd been attending there
Yeah.
all those years. And I didn't have any anticipation that they wouldn't just say, oh, yeah, let me get her for you. You know, so I'm standing there confused. I'm getting this really
Did you
weird
have the lump, the bump, the
oh,
brick?
yeah. I'm like, what is going on? Well, about that time, out walks from the same locked door one of the junior pastors, and I know him. I've known him all that time. His name's Eric Neal. And he walks out and he goes, hi, Sandy, how are you? And I said, well, to be real honest, Eric, I'm pretty confused. And he goes, what's going on?
So the gaslighting starts.
Right. And he goes, well, what's going on? And I go, do you have time to talk to me? And he goes, well, I maybe got about 2 minutes. I've got some people coming in. So I said, well, I'll take it. Because at that point, I'm starting. I mean, I wasn't angry. I wasn't being rude to him or nothing like that. I just asked to talk to him. So he takes the card key. We go behind the locked door. He takes me into a little conference room. And I told him what happened. And I said, I'm confused. What's going on, Eric? And he goes, well, I can't tell you anything about her either. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've known you a long time. I attend here. And he said, well, I know that you and your daughter have had some problems in the past. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? And he goes, well, that's really all I can say. And I'm like, Eric, you're a dad. What if someone was saying something like this to you
Yeah,
about one of your children?
exactly.
And he goes, that's all I can say. And about that time, someone knocks on the door and they say, Eric, your appointment's here. You got to go. And he used that as an opportunity to say, I'll walk you out. Now, this was on a Thursday at
This is all
lunchtime.
choreographed. This is all
Oh,
like a formula.
100,
This is all
100%. And I walk out confused, not knowing what to do. I get in the car with my friend. And keep in mind, Mindy, I didn't do anything while I was in there. I didn't get loud. I didn't throw chairs. I didn't
no.
do anything.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot to mention something. When I walked back out into the lobby, the lady behind the front desk is still there. I didn't know her at the time, but I have since learned her name was Emily Pratt. And she was, at that time, she was running the front desk. But a few years later, she was being called a pastor. So I don't know how that all works.
Did they go to pastor school? Like, did they
No,
go to?
no. They have
And,
an in-house little uh, course that they make you sign up for, and it's called ITLA. And ITLA, they basically put you through kind of like, if you want to be in ministry, we can help you with that. It only costs $1,500 in
but they
tuition.
don't go to ministry school
No,
or.
no. Dave Summerall doesn't even have a degree in ministry. You know what his degree is in? Business from Oral Roberts. Yeah.
So they couldn't go to an actual real church and be a pastor.
I don't know what other churches' requirements are, but probably not. Unless
Okay.
they're
So,
part of the ark, anything's
no, but I'm
possible.
just saying. I mean, they can't like leave that so-called church and go to another,
No,
like a not affiliated
I don't
actual
think
real
so.
church.
I don't think so, Mindy.
Okay,
But guess
so
what? Since we're talking about that course, real quickly, let me insert this. What that course, it costs $1,500 to be in the course. And when you are in that course, first of all, you are required to work out like CrossFit, which is very militant, 5 days a week. You're required to do that. Second of all, you are required to volunteer at the church numerous hours a week while you're in the course. So basically, you're paying tuition to get to work there for free.
and then you're getting to be jacked up like a bouncer.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
right? Like you're
Yes,
getting
I never thought about it that way, but you're right. Yeah. Mhm.
they're getting to
What
be
what's
yeah.
wrong with that picture, Mindy? Everything we just
I don't
said.
know. Do they have them on steroids too? It sounds bad.
They could. I don't.
Okay,
They could
so
have.
we're
Okay,
going along.
so I go out into the lobby and Emily Pratt sitting behind the desk, and I say I remember that Kate Summerall, Dave Summerall's wife, is also listed as a pastor. Now, the
Mhm.
entire time, the 8 years I had been going there, I had never even had Kate Summerall even acknowledge me. She had never said hello to me. We had certainly never had a conversation. We never had a coffee together, nothing like that. And they're that engaged in my daughter's life, but they don't want to talk to me, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I thought about it as I was standing there in the lobby because I'm thinking about what else should I do in this situation, you know? So I say to Emily Pratt behind the desk, I said, I'd like to make an appointment to meet with Kate Summerall because she's listed as a pastor there. I feel like I should have had every right to talk to her. right? Now, I didn't say anything about this is crazy. Why was I
No,
treated so
you
weird?
just
Nothing.
were actually you were probably like in shock, so you
I
probably didn't say
was.
anything.
I was. And she goes, well, you would have to email her assistant to do that. And I said, well, that's okay. I said, can you give me her email address? And she gave me the email address of a lady named Amy McDonald. I'd never met her before either. And she said, she gave me, it was on a pink Post-it note, which I still have in all my stuff, Kate or Amy McDonald's email address. So I took it and then I said, okay, thank you. And I left. I didn't create any
Right.
problems, drama, nothing. I get out to the car. I tell my friend what happened, and she's like, that's really weird, but I didn't make that big of a deal with it with my friend. I needed to process what happened.
Right.
So this was on a Thursday at lunchtime. Okay. So I go through the weekend and Sunday rolls around. Well, Sunday, I thought I'm going to go ahead and email this Amy McDonald to try to get that appointment with Kate Summerall. And I sat down and I wrote a very nice email. I said, Amy, hi, Amy, told her who I was. And I said, I was told that in order to meet with Kate Summerall, I should email you. Could you please give this information to Kate? And back then, Kate had a social media presence, and I followed her. She's a mom, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know her personally, but I know a little bit about her life because I follow her on social media. So I very nicely wrote, I realize we've never really met, but I'm the mom of my daughter. And I said, I follow you on social media. I know you're a mom as well. And I just wanted to see if I could meet with you. That was it. It was nice. It was pleasant. I didn't say I had a bad experience at the church, nothing like that. So I sent that off on Sunday. Monday morning, I wake up and I have an email back from Amy McDonald saying, well, I'm sorry, but, Kate Summerall doesn't take meetings. She's
What?
got, yeah, she's got 5 children and also she's very busy.
So why
Now,
does she have a secretary that takes meeting appointments
right,
for her?
right. And why is she presented as a pastor for the church if
Yeah.
she's not available to the congregants,
Right.
right? And so she said, however, one of our other pastors, her name is Heather Chalk, and I have copied her on this email, and she would be glad to meet with you.
Okay.
And so Heather pops up and she says, hi, Sandy, I'm Heather. And yes, I would be glad to meet with you. Can we, and she's being very nice as well. Amy McDonald was nice, even though I didn't like what she had to tell me. And then this Heather Chalk was pleasant in the email too. And she goes, can we meet on Thursday morning? Now this is Monday morning when we're messaging. And she goes, can we meet at the Starbucks at blah, blah, blah address? And I thought, well,
Why?
why am I not coming to her office? But
Right.
then I thought, well, the Starbucks is closer to where I live, so that's fine. I don't care.
Don't you love
And
how we rationalize everything, even though the
yes,
flags are popped up?
yes, yes. The red flags were flying about this time.
Like you had
And
to feel uncomfortable about
I
this.
did, and I didn't know, and I was confused. The biggest thing that was I was confused, Mindy. I did not know what was going
And then you
on.
second guess yourself, and then you start to rationalize.
Talk
And
myself down.
yeah,
I did that so many times.
I know. We all
So
do that.
so I say, fine, we make an appointment. I think it was 10 o'clock that Thursday at the Starbucks. So they had both been pleasant to me in the messages. So I'm thinking, well, I'll get to the bottom of this. And they're being pleasant with me, right? Well, the pleasantness came to a very
Well, they're
fast
gray
halt.
rocking you. They were gray rocking you. I don't know if you
Okay.
know what that means. That
I've
means
never
that,
heard that
okay,
term,
so
but
in therapy, it means that they didn't want to cause any conflict. So they were just saying, wait, let me pull up because this is interesting. People will want to know what this is. Gray rock, hold on. Let me Google that. So the gray rock method is a psychological technique used to deal with manipulating individuals, becoming as uninteresting and emotionally unresponsive as possible. So
Okay.
they don't want to cause any conflict. They just basically want you to go away.
So
Like,
kind of like gaslighting.
yeah, it's kind of like gaslighting. So it's kind of like if you meet somebody in the post office and you say, hi, how are you? Bye. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't want to
Yeah.
give them any information to, you don't want to give them anything to hold on to.
Right.
There's no answer to the way they're talking to you. They're talking very general down. So what does she do
Mm-hmm.
to you?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're scheduled to meet on Thursday morning, and this is Monday. And I'm thinking, okay, well, at least they were pleasant to me, and I went about my day. Well, that night I went to my mailbox. Now I no longer live in the house that I had back then. I actually live in a apartment building, kind of a secured building. So a lot of things that I didn't have time to talk about. But I went to my mail room to get my mail, and
Yeah.
and in the mail was a letter from iTown Church. Had iTown Church's you know name at the top, and it was addressed to me, and it said, you are no longer allowed on the property of iTown Church indefinitely. And it was signed by their administrative director. His name was Joel Pollock. I never met him either. He was one of their administrative people, and it was CC'd to the Hamilton County Sheriff.
Who's in the
Now, I
packet?
had done nothing wrong, Mindy.
Right. Gotcha.
Nothing. Walked into the church that I attended
No,
and
I
asked to
understand.
say hello to my daughter. I was beside myself with mainly confusion, and I
Well,
just,
you're panicking.
I'm panicking. I'm telling, like, they're including the police in it. And
You're
I'm a
scared.
realtor.
You were scared and panicking.
Yes.
I
And I
get
didn't
that.
know what to do, but boy, I would if this was happening today, because I know a lot more than now
Yeah.
than I did then. But anyway, so that was on Monday, then Monday night. So then Tuesday went by. Tuesday was actually my daughter's birthday.
Right. But Sandy, I don't want to
So,
interrupt you, but I need to. Well, okay. So, I've got about another half hour.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
So, so that was on my daughter's
So it's your
birthday.
daughter's
I couldn't get
birthday.
a hold of her, nothing. Wednesday night, I'm in my apartment, and there is a loud knock on my door. And I look out the peephole, and it is a Hamilton County sheriff in full uniform knocking on my door.
Uh-uh.
And I opened the door, and I'm like, yes. And he said, are you, said my name. And I said, yes. And he goes, I've got some papers to serve you with. And I'm just like, what? And I opened the door, and I let him come into the little foyer, and I go, what is this? And he goes, well, do you know who? And he said my daughter's name. And I said, that's my daughter. And he goes, I'm serving you with a protective order against your daughter, from your daughter. And I've never even seen a protective order. And I'm flipping through it and trying to figure out, what all this is. And I don't know if you've ever seen a protective order, Mindy,
No,
but what it
fortunately,
does
I have not.
is, if you file a protective order, you're basically saying that you have reasons to feel fearful of this person. And you have to tell why you feel fearful of this person. They had created 6 incidents that they said that I had done that made her feel fearful of me. Now, keep in mind, it wasn't from iTown Church, it was from my own daughter.
Well,
Her
she
name was
didn't
at the
write
top.
it. She didn't write it.
Well, I now have 100% proof that the iTown Church staff, and I know the person who told her to do this, who was basically one of her, I guess you could say maybe one of her bosses,
Yeah.
told her to do this. It was signed by her, but it was electronic signature, so I know that she filed it online. Probably right there sitting in the church at one of their computers is when she did this. Okay.
Wow.
The incidents that were created in this protective order, 3 of them were purely fictitious. It was just things like you're supposed to put the date when this happened. They would say on or about, January whatever date, on or about January of 2020. Like they didn't even know the dates of these so-called incidents. And they would say things like Sandy came into uh, her place of employment. They weren't saying the church that I had attended all those years. Okay.
Don't they
They,
have cameras there? I mean, couldn't they? Don't you?
yes, yes. That $22 million building is full of cameras. They could have whipped, if I had done anything wrong, they would have whipped that footage out
They had
and
no
they would have,
proof, right? No
right.
proof.
No, no proof. But they took 3 incidents that were real incidents and they turned it into something that it wasn't. Like the incident on January 23rd, they told my daughter, and it's written in the protective order, that I came in, demanded information about her, and refused to leave. They lied to her, first of all. Then they told her to fill the protective order out against me, and they lied in the protective. They had her fill it out based on what they told her that I had done, and I
Well,
didn't
she
do
was
that.
already brainwashed because she's now
Right.
4 years into this. So they're
Oh,
her people at this
she,
point.
she was actually, it was even longer than that because she started there when she was 14. This actually happened when she was 22.
Oh, so she's already, I don't know,
Years,
6, 7,
years
8 years.
yes, years of manipulation.
And
Okay.
these are the only people she comes in contact with at this
Right,
particular point.
right, right. And then they had a couple of other things. Like one of the things that they listed was um, I had got a piece of mail that came to me and it had been forwarded. It had a forwarding sticker on it, and I didn't realize it was actually for her. So I opened it and I looked inside and I discovered that there was a $457 check for her. It was some refund check for something. And this was before all this happened. So I was still attending the church. It was in November of 19. So a few months before this happened. And I thought, oh, well, I texted her that I got some piece of mail for her. She didn't respond. And I thought, oh, I'll just go to church on Sunday. I'll just take it to her. She'll be excited to get this, I'm sure. What young girl wouldn't be excited to get almost $500 they weren't
Yeah.
expected to get? And so I thought, oh, well, I'm going to church on Sunday. I'll just take it to her then. On Sunday, I walk into the church. I've got it in my hand and I see her. I go up to her and I'm like, this came in the mail for you. And she looks inside and she goes, well, what is it, Mom? And I said, I don't know, but it's a check made out to you. And I knew you'd be excited to get it. So I brought it to you. She goes, oh, thanks, Mom. But I'm really busy. I got to go now. I'm, really busy right now. And she goes, but thanks for bringing it to me. I really appreciate it. That was one of the 6 incidents that made her fearful of me because I had opened her mail. So see, they were just reaching for anything that they could put on paper to make me look bad. And what mother doesn't accidentally open their child's mail,
Sandy, you don't have to make an excuse. I mean, it's everything you're doing was completely normal behavior. And
Right.
I mean,
Normal behavior.
you can't, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean,
No,
the only thing you did,
no.
I mean, the only thing you did wrong was trust in the church.
Yes, yes, 100%. So
So now go on.
so then as a result of this happening, we had a court hearing a week or a month later. Okay. So February 28th of 2020, I had to go into a court hearing about this protective order.
During
I didn't even,
COVID.
yeah, it wasn't quite, it came out about a month
A
after
month
that, and all
later,
the
it came out
churches
March of
closed. Yeah,
2020. Yeah.
yeah. So, and that was kind of ironic because that $22 million building got shut down right after we were in court. Kind of
All right.
ironic how that happened.
Yeah.
But so I go into this court hearing. I didn't realize I was going into like a court hearing. I just thought I was going to talk to
And you
someone
had no
about this.
representation, right?
Yeah, I didn't have an attorney. I just walked in there and I get there, Mindy, and it's my daughter and 6 people from iTown Church are there. Yeah, exactly. The judge treated me like I was the worst criminal he had ever met. He even said to me at one point, he goes, "Let me get this straight. You committed a federal offense by opening someone else's mail." That's how he treated me throughout the whole thing.
It was so skewed in not your favor that I mean, there was nothing you could have been Mother Teresa and it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
It was
Well,
you were done.
I ended up having to like represent myself in the court and act like an attorney. And I called that Eric Neal, the one pastor that I saw when I went in there. I called him up to because he was one of the people that she was with. Like a whole entourage of I-Town people went there to discredit me.
And he lied, right?
No, actually, he told the truth. I said it was stated earlier in the court, in this hearing that I came in, demanded information about my daughter and refused to leave. Did that happen? And he said he
No.
admitted that it didn't.
It didn't matter. They've got the court, they've got the
Yes.
police, they have the
Yep.
sheriff's department, and they have the community all in their pockets. They have really
Yes.
deep pockets, right?
Yes. Yes.
And they can
100%.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's like we were talking about the other day. It's like that girl in New York, I think she was in New York or Boston that didn't kill her boyfriend, the cop, but
Right.
then the whole
Right.
police department got beat. There's nothing you can do in a situation like that. You're
Right.
just I mean, unless you have an army to fight their army, you don't have
Right.
anything.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, you were pretty much done at that. Not
Well,
done, but
right. And the judge just treated me like I was hardened criminal and put the 2-year protective order in place against
yeah.
me. And that was in 2020, the first part of 2020. And until recently, I have not seen or spoken to my daughter since. And in the meantime, they have married her off to a young man in the church.
Wait, explain this. What did they do? So she's still in this. So now it's 2025. Well, it's 2026, but now it's 2026. She's been in the church since 2000 and what?
11,
2011.
14, 15 years.
So now we're going on 15 years. You haven't seen her since 2020.
Right. And that court hearing is the last time I laid eyes on my daughter.
So you saw her, what was the date?
February 28th of 2020.
So right before COVID. So you saw her February 28th. It's actually going on, it will be 6 years in 2 weeks.
It's already past 6 years that,
oh,
yeah.
all right. So,
well, since the whole thing started, yeah.
Yeah, but so now you see her in the court, and now it's back, fast forward to 2026. And well, no, not fast forward. So what happens? So she's still in the church.
She's
She
still in the
gets
church.
married. Was she married at that point?
She got married in 2022 or 23, 22, I think. So they matched her up with a young man.
So they arranged a marriage.
Yeah. Now,
To
of
have
course,
more children with more parishioners.
Yes, and she's had 2 children since I've seen her. I've never seen her, never met her husband, never seen her kids.
And does he work in the church?
Yes, he's on staff there as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a whole family affair. So she has 2 kids that she's raising to be little church parishioners.
Uh-huh. Yep, they're in the church little school there, the daycare. So they basically, have access to her children straight out of the womb.
So she's in a bubble.
Yes.
She's in a hermetically sealed bubble.
Yes.
Oh.
And one thing that I wanted to share with you to just show you how evil these people are. Okay, my daughter, when she first started going there, for a long time, they had her do the up on the big screen, they will do like the announcements, and someone, they film them ahead of time doing this little thing, and then they put it on the big screen during the service. So February 28th was when we were in court. that Mother's Day, which would have been just like 2 months later, they chose my daughter to be up on the big screen for the Mother's Day announcements. And guess what? Because they always give her a script, right? She doesn't just get up there and say something, they give her a script. The script that they had her say, and I have the video of this, so I know it's true. It's not just hearsay. They have my daughter up there saying, "Thank you so much for spending part of your Mother's Day weekend with us here at iTown, where we love and appreciate and celebrate mothers so much." That is the script that they gave her after being in court with her just 2 months before that against her own mother.
See, I liken this to, not like, liken's not the right word. When my daughter first went no contact, I had a therapist, and the first thing he said to me about my daughter's situation was that he presented a term to me called cognitive dissonance. She was in cognitive dissonance, meaning that she couldn't love you and them at the same time. Something had to go.
Right.
So I think that that's the way that they can rationalize. I mean, I'm no psychiatrist, but since I've been in this space, I'm starting to like cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort experienced from when holding two conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes at the same time that contradict each other. So she can't love you and love the church. My daughter can't love me and love her husband. My daughter, because you know that what she's doing is wrong, and she knows and she can't. She's got to cut off one part. Something has to go, I think.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Mindy, but there's even a little bit more to it in my situation. Is I had this organization that I had created.
Yeah.
And they did not want her to focus on that. They wanted her to focus on iTown. And they even went so far as to, as soon as this protective order was over, they went after my organization, claiming that I was exploiting my daughter.
Oh God!
Yes.
Like pot calling the kettle black. They're exploiting your daughter.
Right. So, and all along I have known that they were behind the protective order, and they were behind her coming after me about the organization. This is an organization that I created and ran for 15 years. And I have a million photos of showing families who I helped with this organization.
Well, she's bought in. She allowed them to manipulate her to the point where she's completely on board. This is her life, right?
It is, but I'm also very cautious, Mindy, that I don't blame her, because she was a child and they manipulated her and they made her think things that weren't true.
Yeah.
And they made her
see that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even though right now I've had some communication with her that has not been pleasant, I still try to always take that into consideration, that they did this to her. She is not the person that I raised. She was always very kind and gentle with people. She was never manipulative or unkind.
But she was an easy mark.
She was, because she was the perfect victim for them, because she appeared very confident. She had been in the media a lot. She was very popular in our community, but underneath it, and I didn't really get it back then, she was probably very wounded underneath by what she had been through in her life. But she handled it so well that I didn't know that she wasn't just okay.
Cindy, right? You can't feel guilt about this.
Mindy, I really don't. I don't.
No, you really can't feel guilt about this.
I don't feel guilty. I just understand what now, because I've spent the last 6 years analyzing it, doing research, and really, really analyzing what's going on. I think it's very easy for people that don't know the whole story to just be like, well, if that was my daughter, I'd never speak to her again, you know? And it's hard not to do that.
You
But
cannot talk to anybody in this no contact estrangement space if they don't have experience with it. It's just,
right.
it's a
That's very true.
hell like no other hell. It's like
Right.
a, regardless of what your situation is, what my situation is, what this one's situation's over there, that one's situation, other situations are completely different. All the
Right.
elements are completely different, but the end result, it's the death of a child that's still living. And
Yes. Yes.
um and it's also the hope that we're going to get them back.
Right.
So it's that
Right.
space that you live in that is so torturous. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
so, it's so, you, it's hell.
It is. And not only did they come after my relationship with my daughter, they came after this organization that I created. And I had to end up shutting it all down. Something I created and
They
ran
didn't
for
come after your
15
job,
years.
right? They let you have your job.
Well, well, they did indirectly because I'm a realtor and I had a protective order filed against me. If you were going to list your house, would you want to list it with someone who's had a
No,
protective?
did it ruin some income for you? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it probably did.
Oh my
Like, I
God.
don't know of any specific situations, but I'm
Yeah.
sure if, if someone found out that that had happened to me, and also I found out that they were telling people back then when the protective order was filed that I had been abusive to my daughter and that my daughter needed to be protected from me, Mindy.
Ugh.
And that's what the entire church, especially the staff, was thinking when I was innocently attending the church.
So you haven't heard from her at all, like other than the rage texting, right? When she's mad that you're
Yes,
doing
yes.
something.
Now, for the first few years after the protective order was over, I reached out to her very gently when I found out she got married, when I found out she had baby number one, when I found out she had baby number two, trying to, wave a white flag or something.
Yeah.
And I have a counselor that I go to, so she walked me through all of this, and we tried that. Well, I never got a response back from her.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, I came out publicly with my story. And I created the Facebook page called The Truth
Yeah.
About
Which is
iTown
very
Church.
popular. You want to say what your Facebook page is?
Yes, yes. The Facebook is actually a private group on Facebook called The Truth About iTown Church. And then on TikTok, it's just an open page that anybody can come and look at. And it's also called the Truth
And there's
About
other
iTown.
people that got swept up in this, correct?
So many people have come forward with their own stories of bad experiences there at iTown Church. And when I first started the group on Facebook, it was all kind of private and kept,
Yeah.
personal. And I started having people come out of the woodwork, and
Oh
share their
yeah.
stories with me. And then it was July of this year of 2025 that I posted some stuff on TikTok, and it sort of went viral. And when that happened, oh, suddenly my daughter was really interested in talking to me. And, it was like you said, rage texting. And, for a little while, I kind of, messaged back with her. And now
I don't answer. My daughter
no.
texts me when she doesn't like a TikTok or
Yeah,
something
that's
that she
what it's
heard I
like.
said. Yeah,
Yeah,
she'll text me and she'll call me. I don't even pick up.
yeah,
I love her, but I'm not going to have a fight with her, and I'm just
yeah.
not. I'm not just not going to. I'm not going to try to be rational with an irrational situation. There's no
That's
winning there.
exactly right.
I mean, you
That's
can't
exactly
win
right.
there. So, I mean,
No,
we're inconvenient because we're speaking up. They wanted us to
right.
not talk. Like, you were the
Yeah,
perfect mark. You're a single mother. You have one child. There's no siblings. There's no father. There's
mhm,
no, it's not messy.
right,
Do you know what I mean?
right.
Like, it's not
They did
messy.
not, they did not have any idea that I would go away for a few years and do all my research and
No,
figure
you
out
got to
what
keep
happened.
going though, Sandy. You got to
Oh,
keep going.
but now I will not back down because they stole my daughter.
And your
My
grandchildren.
my daughter, yes, a normal relationship with my daughter and her family.
I had the same thing. I had a normal
Yeah.
relationship with my daughter, and mine isn't a church that came and took her, but I have a son-in-law and his mother
Yeah.
that did it, and it's you, some point at some point you don't blame them, but at some point they did go with it. You know what I mean? Like, but then you don't want to blame them, but then it's confusing. It's just
Well,
really
it is because I mean we talked earlier about India
yeah.
Oxenberg and her mother. India was the same way with her mother. She had bought into it so bad that her mother had to show her the how bad these people were, and then eventually she did get India out of it by, and Keith Raniere is in jail.
Well, that was easy because he went to, I mean, not easy. I don't mean anything was easy, but at least there was a conclusion to he was a pedophile or an abuser or
Right.
and sexually, like he did all that, which was easier to get her out of that. Your situation doesn't have those illegal
Well,
elements to it,
I
really.
I'm
Well, that
uncovering
you're
a lot
aware
of
of,
stuff, Mindy, now. I
that you're
just
aware of.
posted a video on TikTok. If you haven't seen it,
No.
I ended up finding out about this 20-year-old kid that was attending iTown, and he was going there with his parents, and he ended up meeting a 12-year-old sixth grader and was sexting with her and got convicted of it. The media did not mention that it was iTown Church. They just said he met her at his church.
Because
Well,
they bought the town.
right, right. And guess what? He went to jail and got out of jail, and his parents carted him back to iTown Church, where he ended up getting several more victims.
Oh
And
God,
I
I
just
can't.
discovered that, Mindy, and I have other stuff that is getting ready to
You
come
should. Well,
out.
we're going to keep tuned. We're going to stay tuned with you, Sandy. But
Right.
I'm so sorry. This is so bad.
Thank you,
It's there's
Mindy.
no the problem with these stories are unless there's a reconciliation, there's no conclusion, and
Right.
it's just that we just all the moms, we just have to support each other and be gentle and
Right.
compassionate. We have to have a lot of empathy for each other, and
Hmm.
we have to just grow and learn. And that's why I want to do this. I want to bring awareness to it.
Right.
There's so many people that don't understand. I mean, I remember toward the, before we moved, which alleviated a lot of the pain for me. But I would run into people at the post office. I would hide in my car. Like I would, and I'm so outgoing. I would literally hide in my car
I
until
know.
somebody left the post office because I didn't want to have an interaction with them, because
Right.
I didn't
Oh,
want them to ask about my daughter, because it's embarrassing and it's a shame, and it's and they look at you funny, like you have three horns, sticking out of your head, and it's just
oh yeah.
it's debilitating, but we will
I
continue
I agree with you about that. For the first year, I would just be on the edge of tears at all times. I
all
could no
time.
more have talked about what happened to me like we've done today at all for that first
And
year.
I get
And,
triggered. Do you still get triggered? Like, do you
oh,
see?
yeah. Yeah,
I
I
get
do.
triggered. I got
Sure.
triggered a couple weeks ago, and I posted something on TikTok how triggered. I wasn't mean. I was sad. I was crying. It was sad. Something reminded me of my daughter, something that we did when we were
Hmm.
little. It's just
Yep.
like, I don't understand how they can love us so much and then just not have us in their lives. That's the biggest problem for me. I don't understand that.
Well, and as you know, Mindy, being in this situation with estrangement, there is a lot of evidence now that there are therapists that are
Right.
encouraging these adult children that are saying, "Oh yeah, you can get rid of your parents. You don't need them. You go, girl."
Well, that's a story for another day, and I'm sure I'll be doing episodes
But
on that. But for right now, we're going to leave this here, Sandy. I love you. Thank you so much. I
thank you for
consider you a
having me,
friend.
Mindy.
Please,
Yes.
please, please be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so
Yes.
much.